My name is Rina, and I am 17 years old. I live in the big noisy city with my family. From the outside, people might think my life is normal, but it's not. My father is a difficult man. He drinks almost every night, and when he does, he becomes a completely different person. He shouts, breaks things, and worst of all, he hits my mother and me. I have always been scared of my father. He is like a storm that comes suddenly, and when he's angry, no one can stop him. Sometimes he blames my mother for small things, like if the food is not cooked on time. Other times, he blames me. "Why are you going to school?" he yells. "Girls don't need education. They need to stay home and work." I cry in my room at night, wondering why he hates me so much. My mother cries too, but she tries to stay strong for me. She always says, "Rina, you are smart. Don't let your father stop you. Keep studying. One day you will have a better life." My mother is the strongest person I know. She works as a maid in rich people's houses, cleaning and cooking for them. I help her on weekends to earn a little extra money. My father doesn't work. He used to have a job as a bus driver, but he lost it because of his drinking. Now he just sits at home, drinking and shouting. Even though my mother and I work hard, we barely earn enough to pay for food and rent. Our apartment is small and old. The walls are cracked and the roof leaks when it rains. I sleep on a thin mattress on the floor, and we don't even have a proper dining table. But I try not to complain, because I know my mother is doing her best. The only good thing in my life is school. I go to a private school in the city, and it's very different from the world I live in. The school is big and beautiful, with clean classrooms, a library, and even a playground. Most of the students come from rich families. They wear expensive clothes, carry fancy bags, and talk about vacations in other countries. I don't belong there, but I was lucky to get a scholarship. My teachers say I'm one of the smartest students in the school, and they gave me the scholarship because they believe in me. I study hard because I know this is my only way to escape the life I have at home. But being in a school full of rich students is not easy. Some of them look down on me because I don't have nice clothes or a smartphone. They whisper and laugh when they see my old school bag or my worn-out shoes. I pretend not to care, but inside it hurts. It was the first day of a new school term, and I noticed a new boy in our class. His name was Arman. He was 18 years old, 1 year older than me. Everyone was talking about him. Arman was tall, handsome, and confident. His family was rich, and he came to school in a shiny car every morning. He wore expensive clothes and had the latest phone. All the girls in school liked him. They giggled and whispered whenever he walked past. Even the boys admired him because he seemed so cool. He was always laughing, joking, and acting like he didn't care about anything. I had never spoken to him, and I didn't think he would notice someone like me. One day, during lunch, he came and sat next to me. I was so surprised. He smiled at me and said, "Hi, Rina. I've seen you in class. You're very quiet. Why don't you ever talk to anyone?" I didn't know what to say. No one had ever paid attention to me like that before. I looked down at my plate and mumbled, "I don't know." He laughed. "Don't be shy. You're different from the others. I like that." I felt my cheeks turn red. No one had ever said something so nice to me. From that day, Arman started talking to me every day. He would ask me about my life, my dreams, and what made me happy. I told him about my wish to become a teacher, and he said, "You're smart, you can do it." For the first time in my life, I felt seen. I started to think that maybe Arman was different from the other boys. I thought he cared about me. The more time I spent with Arman, the more I noticed things about him. He was always surrounded by people. Everyone wanted to be his friend. He liked to show off his money, buying expensive snacks for everyone and throwing parties. Sometimes I saw him drinking alcohol with his friends after school. It made me uncomfortable, but I told myself it wasn't a big deal. One day, he invited me to a birthday party for one of his friends. I didn't want to go because I wasn't used to parties, but he insisted. "Come on, Rina, it will be fun. You need to relax a little." At the party, I felt out of place. Everyone was laughing, drinking, and dancing. I stayed in a corner, feeling nervous. Arman came over and handed me a drink. "Here, try this," he said. I shook my head. "No, I don't drink." He smiled and said, "It's just for fun. Don't be boring." I didn't want to disappoint him, so I took a small sip. It tasted terrible, and I put the glass down. Arman laughed and walked away to talk to someone else. I felt ignored, but I told myself it was okay. As the party went on, I noticed one of Arman's friends watching me. He was older, maybe 20, and he made me feel uncomfortable. He kept staring at me and smiling in a strange way. I tried to avoid him, but he came over to me and said, "You're Arman's friend, right? You're very pretty." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded and looked away. He moved closer to me and said, "Come outside with me. I want to talk to you." I shook my head. "No, I'm fine here." But he didn't listen. He grabbed my arm and tried to pull me outside. I was scared and started to panic. I looked around for Arman, but he was busy laughing with his friends and didn't even notice me. "Leave me alone," I shouted, trying to pull my arm away. Just then, one of the girls at the party saw what was happening and came over. She pushed the boy away and said, "What's wrong with you? Leave her alone." I was shaking and couldn't stop crying. I ran out of the house and didn't look back. Arman didn't come after me. He didn't even ask if I was okay. I just ran away through the dark streets that night. The next day at school, Arman came up to me and said, "Hey, why did you leave the party? Everyone was asking about you." I couldn't believe it. He didn't even care about what had happened to me. I looked at him and said, You weren't there for me when I needed you. You only care about yourself." He laughed and said, "Don't be so dramatic, Rina. It was just a party." That's when I realized the truth. Arman wasn't the good boy I thought he was. He didn't care about me or anyone else. He only cared about having fun and being the center of attention. I stopped talking to him after that. It hurt, but I knew I deserved better. I focused on my studies and my dream of becoming a teacher. I worked hard every day, even when my father tried to stop me. I told myself, I don't need anyone to save me. I can save myself. Years later, I became a teacher at a good school and moved into a small but comfortable apartment. My mother stayed with me, and we finally had peace. One day, I heard from an old classmate that Arman had dropped out of school and was wasting his life drinking and partying. He had wasted all his money and was no longer the popular boy everyone admired. I smiled when I heard that. I didn't feel angry or sad anymore. I felt strong. I had learned an important lesson. I didn't need someone like Arman to make me feel special. I was special all on my own. I would be very happy if you share your comments with me. If you enjoy learning English with me, please subscribe us.